today, I'm not saying old, seasoned friend of mine, industry expert, Corrine Yohann Bundy. Corrine, thank you for joining us and welcome to Deer Talk Now.
Thanks for having me.
It is so awesome. I was trying to remember when we met, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was 2006.
Roughly, yeah.
Because you had just gotten out of school, and you had landed your first job in the industry.
Yes.
Matthews Incorporated. And
actually, probably 07.
It may have been 7.
Yeah.
And I remember you drove to Iola. We took you to the golf course for lunch. And it was like, it was so weird because it was like 5 guys. And then we had to like get a straggler female person from, at the time, Krause to go with us. But I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I definitely remember.
We were working on the annual and it was pretty cool. But thanks for joining us. You know, we're going to talk a lot. There's so much that I know about you just from working with you over the years that I think people don't understand. They might recognize you from, you know, on social media, your time with Matthews, your time now with Elite Archery. But there's so many things that you have accomplished in your young life. And one thing that sticks with me is you were, correct me if I'm wrong here, a member of the first national archery championship team for Texas A&M.
Not the first. I think but for archery, Texas A&M, I shot.
Texas A&M, you were
Olympic style recurve.
Letterman for 3 years.
Full scholarship, All-American honors, and we won 3 national titles.
3 national titles, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. They've won over 20.
Yeah, they're kind of one of the premier schools if you're going to go and shoot archery for a collegiate level. Plus, it's a great school.
So let's start there. No, let's not start there. Let's start with, you grew up in the industry. Your dad owned an archery shop in Wisconsin, not too far from us, right?
Yeah, not too far. Fond du Lac, so Lake Winnebago. My parents owned Dutch's Trading Post. And I started counting worms when I was 6 years old. I got $1.50 a flat, and if I was really booking it, I could get through 3 flats in an hour. So for a 6-year-old, like, I was making bank.
Oh man. Yeah.
And so then I, counted critters, leeches, all sorts of bait because we're on Lake Winnebago. Obviously, a lot of fishermen came in, and then as I grew up and got more familiar with products and my dad felt comfortable, I got on the floor and was forward-facing to the consumer and selling archery equipment, gun equipment, fishing equipment.
Is that how, I know your dad was a big bow hunter.
Yeah.
And that's how you pretty much got into it
through the store. So my mom and dad purchased Dutch's. They owned it for 25 years. So I believe he was about 24 when he purchased it, but he worked at Dutch's for Dutch all throughout high school, and so he was a big sportsman no matter what it was. Ice fishing, turkey hunting, bow hunting, gun hunting. So definitely cut my teeth through my family's store, and archery was something that me and my brother and my dad did. Often we'd go out to the 3D courses, and then we shot indoor leagues and outdoor leagues, and just kind of materialized from there. My brother actually went out to Chula Vista, the Olympic Training Center, where I actually ended up staying for 3-4 months at one point later on. But he went out there with a compound. It was the first time they allowed compounds to come into the facility. And he was at an archery camp, and he came back with this like bug to shoot Olympic style recurve. And of course, anything he does, I got to do, and I got to do it better. But he picked up the recurve, which we didn't have a ton of people around us, that were shooting Olympic recurve. So it was a big learning curve for sure. And he got going and got to be really good. Actually, he went to Michigan State and shot archery for Michigan State. And along the way, I said I wanted to do this too. And at that point, my dad was shooting recurve with him. We obviously shot compound for hunting and would do that in the fall, but recurve was kind of a new challenge for us. And so my dad started doing that, and then I said I wanted to do it too. And those bows don't come cheap. The limbs are expensive. The sight, everything about that sport is expensive. Well, it can be, right? And so my dad didn't feel comfortable like committing and dropping a couple grand on me at the time as a 13-year-old girl, I think. So we had to retrofit his bow, back out his limbs, get different limbs. And I picked it up and really gravitated towards it, and started doing pretty well. And so, I convinced him, let's go to some of these tournaments, and did well. And the rest is kind of history.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, so you're shooting mostly 3D as barely a teenager.
Yeah, indoor leagues, 20-yard. I, went to state tournaments. I think I am a state champion at one point when I was like, 12, 13, something along there. In my division, of course, but shooting compound, and then transitioned into the recurve, and went all over the country. I was JOED, Junior Olympic Archery Development Program, and I think. When I was 17, 18, I was number 2 in the nation. And so got a full scholarship to A&M. And I knew I wanted to get out of Dodge at that point. And they opened the doors.
Much different, Wisconsin to Texas,
Yeah.
especially as a 17 or 18-year-old kid. Was it just your competitive drive that once you got into it, I really want to see where I can go with this?
Yeah. Competitiveness for sure, mostly within like my family, but I just really obviously loved playing with sticks and strings my whole life. I've shot archery, so it was something to like. Archery is so mental too. It's physical, but it's mental, and so it was a huge challenge. But the opportunities that I had from there just really, it was just such a springboard. To go to A&M, that was such a really, really tough school. It was a great school, tough school, an amazing culture. I've been thankful to be a part of some really, really cool cultures in my growing up, going to school, and then in my professional careers. And A&M was the first one of that really stuck with me. The Aggies are a special group, and so I had a great time there. And then just teammates. And with the JOED program, anybody who's in archery and is traveling to different, whether it's ASA events or indoor competitions or whatever, it's really a special community, I feel like. And so you gain a lot of friends that are all over the country, and so you kind of just keep you have that friend group and that common interests that is pretty special too.
How is it with competition archery? I've always viewed it as you have competition archers and then you have hunters, and I know some hunters are competition archers, but it's not really the preponderance of competition shooters, is it?
I would say I encourage any hunter really to explore doing some 3D, some archery leagues, the 3D courses, which can materialize into like more serious competition for sure. It's just an opportunity to shoot more. I think we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, that I'm just a big proponent of shooting more. The more you shoot, the better you're going to be, the more confident you're going to be, the more muscle memory you're going to form, and from there, hunting then can become like, if you're shooting more and you're practicing more, obviously you're going to be better, but your subconscious will take over sometimes. When people have like buck fever and get kind of like brain dead, they'll like the muscles are going to remember that habit that they've been forming. So I guess I'm getting a little off track, but I don't think it's not necessarily there's two separate groups, but I do really encourage a lot of archers to, participate in the local 3Ds, in the local indoor ranges, and then, if they gravitate towards that and they love that, competition is awesome because you're going up against the best and best, and there's also so many different divisions, and there's a lot of specialties in archery where obviously I would be in a female division, but like I was just at an ASA the other month, and there's so many different subdivisions in there, whether you're more along lines of I'm just mostly hunting, but I'm doing these 3D courses to shoot with other archers that have a common interest, but like they want to use pins and they don't want to change over their equipment. There's a division for that. Whereas like if you're more like, this is my 3D setup and I'm going to, use this exclusively for 3D, there's all sorts of different divisions within your category that you can excel at.
There's one question I'm going to jump ahead on. I actually had it for later, but I think when I've seen your progress, you were a hunter first and foremost. And I would have to, if I'm wrong there, you somehow made up for it, because I've seen competition archers who couldn't kill a deer to save their life. And even though they could hit pills at 100 yards in competition, for whatever reason, that buck fever or whatever, that muscle memory doesn't
Really?
translate. I've seen, and I'm not naming names,
Yeah.
but I know some guys that are just phenomenal shooters.
Yeah.
And I've been in camp with them, and they've missed deer, they've hit deer, and things like that. But that was one of the things I was going to ask you. Is it obviously transitioned for you? And I'm not saying that, just because you're a champion archer, you're going to be a champion deer hunter. But somehow, I haven't heard those stories from you.
Yeah.
That it's like when you're in there, you are in the zone, and you have translated that skill that you acquired from being a competitive archer to hunting. And I was wondering, was that difficult for you, or do you not even think about it?
I think hunting is such it can be a steep learning curve. I mean, there's a lot of years where I don't have anything to show for it, but 100 years racked in the stand. So, yes and no. I think definitely competition has allowed me to, like, when you have like that split second, or you have those moments where you know, everything in your body is freaking out and your heart is starting to race, and it's allowed me to just like kind of slow down and breathe, because it's just competition. It's just controlling those nerves and capitalizing on them. You have like a millisecond, and I also know the pain if you don't capitalize on it, and like how much it can consume your thoughts and like take over your like, I have a beautiful wall of great bow harvests over the years, but I think of the deer that I did not connect the dots, and it haunts me. And so I know the pain of that is far greater if you can't just hold it together for that millisecond or those handful of minutes. It's going to be so. I've been through that painful time, and everyone, like any hunter, I've not connected on every dot. And so I just kind of know the severity of that. And so I guess, I don't know. And the competition definitely has played a part in me being able to like collect myself and keep it together, slow things down, and just make smart decisions. Hopefully, because, if you don't make smart decisions in that opportunity, it can be just, like I said, painful.
Painful
a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster of tracking a deer that you might not have put a good shot on. And it's not doing a service to that deer. It's just, I don't like it. So I try to do what I can.
And she does have the trophies to show for it. I can guarantee you that. Some just awesome deer, elk, bears.
Yeah.
Okay, so we take you through Texas A&M. You get your undergraduate.
Yeah.
From there, this is one thing that I've really admired about you, is that you've not only grew up in hunting industry, grew up hunting, but you really were focused as far as, okay, I want to be in the industry. You went on to get your MBA. Mm-hmm. And that was you came back home to do that.
Yeah. So I'll take a step back. So I only knew the hunting industry growing up. I loved business. My family owned a small business, and obviously when you have a family-owned business, like your dinner table is like a business table. Like it kind of just, the conversations migrate to talking about work. And that's how I grew up, and I loved it. And I am so thankful for it. I credit everything to like that upbringing, that work ethic, that ability to interact with the consumer, and a lot of those skills, that interpersonal skills that I don't feel like everyone has these days, right? I was really thankful for how I grew up in that capacity. But I will say, I went to school, and I definitely knew I wanted to have a pretty great career, but I did want to step out of the industry, because that's all I had ever known. And my dad was like, why don't you just apply? Just check with Matthews. They're 3.5 hours from where I grew up, and obviously it's such a great brand. And I was like, no, Dad, I've done this, been there, done that. I want to see what other options are out there. Well, no doors open. In fact, I think I had 4 interviews with Harley Davidson, and it was between me and another girl.
Down in Milwaukee?
Yeah. And they were coming to A&M to recruit. And it was rigorous. Like, it was the most exhaustive interview process I had ever gone through, and I didn't get it. And I was just like devastated. And I was like, golly. So, at that point you need to find a job. And it was my senior year as my, I had committed to work for Matthews like in January, February of my senior year, and then went there in June. But I applied with them, and that was like just second nature for me, and it always has been. It was pretty clear that my path has been easy, and doors have thankfully opened for me, and I've been able to walk through them and hopefully, do a good job.
And the job you have done is, and I'm not gushing over you because you're sitting here. You have, if you don't know Corrine's history, and she's too humble and shy to admit this, but she is largely responsible. I'm not saying, the only person, but one of the key figures within the hunting industry that helped kickstart not only what I would call the, when I got into this industry, and the industry still is this way, white male, 99%, 40-year-old guys, you're catering to that demographic. But you were on the cusp of that push to bring it more modern. Social media starts, I think it was about 2007. Now you helped put these people on the map. And I'm talking about people like, okay, so she's got a degree in marketing.
Yep.
and media, and a master's of business. But I'm talking about people like Tiffany Lakoski, Melissa Bachmann, Candy Kiske, Nicole Reeves, Samantha Morgan. When you saw these big advertising campaigns at the time from Matthews with these women, okay, so number one, it was a youth movement. Number two, it was a female movement, which we had never seen before. Now, a lot of other people were responsible for that, but the legitimacy that I found in it, and I still find in it today, those women that I just mentioned there, we're all legitimate.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 100%. And that's kind of like, if you've been watching Deer Talk this year, I've been trying to bring it back from, I hate to say like, oh, we're going to put a woman out here because we're going to talk about that. But it's like, it's almost like contrived or something. Basically legitimate people. Okay, we just had Becca Garris on. We just had Sky Good on. Legitimate hunters who happen to be women.
Yeah.
And you helped craft that. You helped work in the industry to bring, like I said, that legitimacy to that. Let's talk about that, because we're looking at 15 years now.
Yeah. It's taking a trip down memory lane, really. But I will never forget. So Matt McPherson was my first real boss, other than my dad, I guess, and some internships along the way. And to have him as a boss is just like kind of just the greatest gift. He is such a special human being. And he, saw this opportunity when you bring in the female into the hunting. Not only is there personal benefits for that female that they may just absolutely like this sport may trip their trigger 100%. They may love it and fall in love with it like I have. But also you're appealing to the male too. So when they're going to spend money on a product, you're bringing that person into the fold of what, why they're going to go spend that money on it, why it's so important that they have great equipment that they're so confident in. So it's mutually beneficial, really, if you look at it from a higher level. But, there's other parameters and things that you kind of had to step around, like creating a bow specifically for a female isn't always the most, it's not as easy as you think. Like
right.
There's CNC, there's manufacturing elements to it, and really to be talking to a market that at the time was like 6-7%.
Right. That's the thing that I was going to mention was you had to deal with that. Because people say, oh, we need a women's bow, like in the community, the hunting community. You really should come out with them. Well, yeah,
cool.
it's a very small percentage of of our business model.
And then when you look at your advertising funds and your marketing and your focus, again, it's like it's just it's whittling it down to that smaller group. And then I feel like it's funny in the female hunting market, people will be like, just let's slap some pink on it, and then it's a female product. Here we go, let's roll. But that's really not the case. We have, yes, there's some people that, just some females that just love something that looks a little different and shows their, personality throughout their equipment. But then there's some that just want to stay so far away from it. So you have this group that you have very, very specific tastes in there that you have to cater to. And Matthews wasn't going to just put out a bow to call it a quote unquote female bow. It was going to have unique attributes that really were specific for the female hunter that allowed them to capitalize and be the best of their ability. So
you're very serious with that for years. What is your take now looking back on it? Do you think that, I don't know how to say this, were those inroads worth it? I mean, as far as not just from the manufacturing aspect, but bringing bow hunting to a larger section of America. Because we talk about legitimate, and then, the flip side is we've seen a lot of fakers, we've seen a lot of wannabes, we've seen a lot of users, and unfortunately, I believe, women take a bad rap because some of the people, one bad apple might ruin it.
Sure.
Some girl might get on there and it's like, I'm just doing this for
some likes and some follows.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that kind of give the whole drive a bad name?
No, honestly, I'm on the thought process of anybody promoting the sport of archery and hunting, anybody that's going out and spending money is contributing to conservation and funding of land and all these initiatives. Yes, I think internally in our industry, we talk about that.
Right.
That there's some posers out there perhaps that are not, their motives aren't 100% pure. They might be doing it just for more of attention or whatever. But if they're promoting the sport, they're doing it ethically. That their motives aren't for me to question whatsoever, I don't feel. And I don't think it's bad. I think we can kind of see through it. People crave authenticity. And I think when you aren't authentic and you don't live it, breathe it, and have a true passion for it, it can kind of shine through and people can kind of see through it.
And do you think that's happening now today more on an amplified scale because of social media?
Definitely. Yeah. From everyone has the ability to go out and put on social media anything. It's a little the ability to consume content and information right now has never been more accessible. So anybody can be.
And you were right on the edge
Susie
of it.
Social,
You were on the edge of it. I mean, I was before that.
Yeah.
When I got here, it was print. That was it. That's all we did. And now it's TV, social media. And now it's and I think the accountability level is even higher now because of, I guess, the dilution of because you got so many different things come out there now. It's I'm gonna have my own YouTube page, or I'm gonna have my own YouTube channel. I'm gonna have my own Facebook page. Yep. So we know one thing I do need to mention, because I am very grateful to Matt McPherson, not for just what they did for the industry, but and I know you're a Christian, Matt's a Christian. I know a lot of people in this industry are, but just adhering to what you think is right and just.
Yeah.
And I know we do all we've run down those rabbit holes where it's that's a new trend, we got to follow it, and then you kind of get this icky feeling, or it's no, we're not doing that anymore. Matt. Hey, we know what that sound means. It means we're going to take a break to thank one of our sponsors. Today's episode of Deer Talk Now is brought to you by Easton Archery and the all-new 5mm Autumn Orange FMJ. Celebrating Easton's 100 years in archery, the 5mm Autumn Orange FMJ is a fresh take on an old favorite, featuring Easton's exclusive FMJ arrow technology and finished with the classic Easton Autumn Orange anodized finish. This limited edition offering gives archers a modern arrow with a throwback nostalgia to arrows they may have never put in their quiver before. I did. I had those original Autumn Oranges when I was younger. These are available in 4 popular sizes: 250s, 300s, 340s, and 400 spines. and it also includes hit inserts and 5mm X-Nox installed. Very, very, very cool. I will be shooting these arrows in that throwback autumn orange while hunting for Deer and Deer Hunting TV this year on our Pursuit Channel shows. You might already know I'm a big fan of the FMJ line. To begin with, these arrows are skinny, they're straight, and they pack a punch. My particular setup, those arrows are 11.3 grains per inch. Plenty enough power I'm getting there on downrange kinetic energy, even though I'm only shooting 54 pounds. This adds up to a mighty wallop downrange on whitetails. Check them out at your nearest Easton Arrow dealer or visit eastonarchery.com for more information. What bothers you? I could talk for hours what bothers me with the hunting industry. Are there anything that bothers you right now when you look at social media and you see bow hunting and how it's being portrayed or anything like that?
Well, that's a good question. Really, here's what I like. I like anybody going out and shooting anything they want to shoot. Whatever trips your trigger, if that makes you happy, if that fills your freezer, I am all for anything. So, I mean, I think over the years, people have definitely talked about, and I'm all for deer management and growing that deer. I have a deer that will be 7.5 this year that I have intimate, like I have all of his sheds. I love that deer.
On how many acres?
I need to. He's right on the fringe of my property, but I have pictures of him every year. And I can't wait if that comes together for somebody in our group, right? So I'm all for deer management. But to shoot big deer, you have to shoot deer. And I think there's some like expectations that people put on themselves. And if you're not harvesting critters, it's sometimes isn't fun. Like, because everyone puts the onus on, like, well, what'd you get this year? And if you didn't, if you don't have anything to show for it, you can like almost feel like bad, like you failed that year, right? You didn't fill a tag. And I hate that part because it's obviously the whole experience of just like the tree stand therapy component to it, just kind of just going out there for camaraderie, if that's it, with deer camp. So I feel like people need to check themselves a little bit when it comes to, what they're like, what makes them happy, do what makes them happy. As long as they're doing it ethically, I'm all for it. And I think social can kind of shed a light on just like not celebrating the victories, whether they're big or small. So I don't like that. And secondly, I would say we have such a cool industry. There's so many cool stories that you and I might know, but the whole world doesn't get to hear it because we have a lot of different voices in the hunting industry, and they're all like, there's not like one unified voice for the sportsman, I'd say. And there might be, but there's just all these people talking, and sometimes the messages get lost. Like in my history, like we have so many, like you and I probably have so many cool stories that may never hear the light of day.
Right.
So
tell us one. Tell us I'll chum the water. I'll chum the waters here. I'm going to tell you. I got to think of one now. I'm going to tell me a story from deer camp. I was going to tell one. I can't tell that one. So tell me a story from deer camp. Okay, I'll start. This one was in 1996 in Texas with the Mossy Oak guys, and I believe PSE was there. And there was a guy, I can't mention his name. He was in the industry. He had never hunted before, never bow hunted. They taught him how to shoot a bow and this thing, and there was a Major League Baseball player in the truck. And now I can mention these guys because rest his soul. Gary Clancy was there. It was me. It was this baseball player, and it was a guy from Mossy Oak. He knows who he is. We're all sitting. We're all packed in this pickup truck, and this guy, the newbie, who had never killed anything before, he had never been hunting before. He shoots, now we're talking South Texas, which a doe fawn in October. So you can understand. And I'm the same way. I celebrate, I say it almost every show now, big or small, I'll shoot them all.
Yeah.
And he shoots a doe fawn in October in South Texas. I mean, it weighed like 30 pounds.
Yeah, right.
But he was so excited. But he was kind of like tense. And I'm just like, I'm kind of being over the top. Oh my God, congratulations. Tell me the story. And so we're in the truck, and You remember Gary Clancy?
Yeah, I do.
A famous outdoor writer?
Awesome
Gregarious. He would he'd actually tell you Vietnam stories. He was in Vietnam, but he was just, okay, sidebar. He was in Vietnam when Bob Hope would come to entertain the troops.
Okay.
And he said, anybody whose name is Bob, come up on stage. Well, like 5 guys go up there, and here Clancy goes up there. What's your name? Bob Smith. Where are you from? La Crescent, Minnesota. Okay, what's your name? Not Dan. Bob Jones. Where are you from? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's your name? Gary Clancy, Byron, Minnesota. But anyways, he was a very funny guy. So Gary is sitting there biting his lip. We're in the truck, and I said to this guy, I said, tell me your story. And he said, well, I was sitting there, and it got daylight. This deer comes out. It's broadside. It's 12 yards. I pull back. I take the shot. It takes a couple steps, and it falls over. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And Clancy, it's dead
anticlimactic, really.
It's dead quiet in the truck, and Clancy's like, well, they can't take that much stress once they drop out of the womb.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Everybody busts out laughing. This guy feels about this big. But then we took him aside and said, Clancy's, whatever. Yeah. That's one of my stories. Now, funny. I don't expect one like that, but tell me a story, something from camp that you would think that, this was a story that would never see the light of day.
Well, this actually did see the light of day, this story. I think Joe Byers wrote about it.
Okay.
Bowhunting
Famous
World.
Outdoor writer.
Mm-hmm. So this was my first elk hunt, okay? I'm a through and
I
through
remember
whitetail.
That. Was it the one when you first got your first elk?
No, this is
okay.
my first elk hunt. And now I'll say it, I'm a fat and happy tree stand hunter, love it. Let me just trot myself up to my tree stand. But this was my first elk hunt, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was northern Idaho. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I think I cried every day, truly. It was so hard. We were no mules, no horses, no ATVs. We were, trekking it back, and we were spike camping for 3-4 days. And we had a base camp where the cook was there, and we kind of, regrouped. And then we went up for 2-3 days. And then on the way, at camp, it's just miserable. We have no elk sign. There's not a lot of talking. There was a fire the year before, so it was up and over trees that had fallen down, and it was raining and drizzling and snowing and spike camping every night. It was just a rough experience for a first elk hunt for me, quite frankly. And on the way back, we were on the other side of this big mountain, and the camp cook was moving the truck from point A to point B. So we're coming down, and I'm hunting with Byers Media at the time, who are just the salt of the earth best people, one of the best people in the world, in the industry, and the world probably. But Autumn, who's my age, she is Ken's daughter, and it's me, Ken, my brother, who came along with me, and Autumn. And we can't find the truck. We're coming down. We're super exhausted. And I'm just kind of, oh my gosh, over this already, day 3, day 4 of the hunt. And it's just snowing, and we're soaking wet, and we cannot find the truck to save the life of us. So we come along a spike camp of another group of hunters, and we decide okay, girls, you stay here. We're going to go off and try to figure out where this truck went and how we're going to get back to our location. And so me and Autumn sit down at this spike camp, and they go off, and we're sitting there, and obviously we're soaking wet, and the longer we're sitting there, the colder we're getting because we're not moving anymore. And slowly but surely, we kind of start making ourselves at home at these other hunters' camp, to the point where, okay, we're sitting down in their chairs, and then we're okay, now we're going to go in their wall tent. Okay, now we're going to take some wet clothes off. Okay, now we're going to get in their sleeping bags because we're so cold. Okay, we're going to eat some of their M&Ms I found. Really, definitely, it was hours at this point. And so then we're in their sleeping bags on their cots. Me and Autumn are, and we hear truck tires rolling, and we're we both pop up instantly, and it was one head And then my head over Autumn's, like peeking out the tent, and it's like, oh, please, Lord, let it be Ken and our people. But it was not our people. It was the other hunters who came back to find 2 chicks in their tent in their beds, and
Unclothed.
no, we had
Okay.
yeah, we had some breeches on. We had clothes on. But yeah, man, they were stoked too because it was their 9th hunt. I think they told me their first successful elk bow hunt recovery that they brought. They just were coming
So
back.
they just got back from
cloud 9,
killing an elk. Okay.
Yep, and recovering it and packing it out and cloud 9 already, and then they have got 2 chicks in their tent. And it was truly like, I think the title of the article was Goldilocks, or like something Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, because it was like we like slowly but surely like just took over the
So
tent.
how did you guys like explain the situation?
Oh, just
did it-
essentially, played it through like, we were sorry, we were just super cold and hungry. And like,
We ate your M&Ms.
we were poor. And then they made us, like, they were like, what can we get you? Like, here, can we feed you? Like, they were getting us coffee, and like, they were super stoked.
That would have not been, if it would have been me and Brad, that would have not been the case.
It was fun. It was so great. And anyways, I got their info and I sent them some care packages when I got back home. But it was a fun.
After they learn, oh my gosh, she's in the industry. Yeah. So let's transition now. You're with the outdoor group.
Yeah, but prior to that, I worked for
Oh, that's right.
Bachmann Corporation
For a year, right?
for about a year, and having a great time actually doing it. But I was so Bachmann is Outdoor Life Field
Right.
and Stream, and they have enthusiast titles for even
the events.
the event, like, so they have about 6 different divisions of enthusiast sports. They have like a yachting magazine, they have the Jeep, and like a lot of auto
I totally forgot they had all
titles.
that stuff. Yeah.
And then, of course, they have Outdoor Life Field and Stream, so more the hunting world and fishing world. So I was on the event side and the marketing manager for the 4-wheel jamborees, which I had no idea what I was doing. But
This is like, I totally forgot about
and then the
this, too.
deer and turkey expos. And so we'd go into deer and turkey expos where there was in 6 locations, and same with 4-wheel jamboree, we had like 4 locations. And so I'd go into the different markets and essentially media plan and run a team to promote the event via digital, i.e. social, email, and then go into the marketplace and buy outdoor billboards and radio spots and TV spots. And then on location we'd be doing coverage from the event. And that was really stinking fun. It was such a different like flex of my career, or different like opportunity for me to market. And at the end, COVID, it was like a perfect storm, right? Like I was having a lot of fun, learning so much, doing something so different. I mean, similar but different at the same time. We had planned, for example, like the Wisconsin Deer and Turkey Expo. So I was starting to do some ancillary events, like with these, like already Deer and Turkey Expo. We were going to do a conservation and comedy night with Charlie Barons, which is
wow.
Yeah. So that was Wisconsin. In
I
Ohio,
wore his shirt yesterday.
in Ohio, I had Cam Haynes tooled up to do a run in the morning of the Ohio event, and then do some so like doing these ancillary events that like the conservation and comedy was going to be contribute to Wisconsin conservation, and then comedy nights, and we had all these other sponsors, and it was an extra ticket, just a lot of fun different things. But COVID kind of put a kibosh on that. And but during that time I didn't really know where COVID, we didn't know COVID was going to be 2+ years of this life that changed everything. But the outdoor group was looking to change up kind of their marketing team. And so they had called me, I think 4 times, we had 4 different conversations along the way. And I wasn't necessarily interested because I was having a really great time and learning a lot. And quite frankly, I never thought I would work for another bow manufacturer. But at the time, it was an opportunity. At the end of it, I said, this is, I'm not quite ready to, make this transition quite yet, but I'd be interested in looking at some consulting. And so that was a really great opportunity for both of us to kind of try before you buy and learn about each other, learn my style. I could learn about the company. And then when I learned about the company, just everything that the outdoor group had gone through in the rear view, a lot of kind of some growing pains of like buying different companies, consolidating them into one facility, one accounting, one team, right? So that was in the rear view. But not only that, like from an innovation standpoint, what they were doing with some of their product development was really, really stinking cool and revolutionary. And also how they kind of talked and treated their retail partners, like truly looking at the partnership and making business as easy as possible to work with the company, i.e. you can buy all this portfolio of stuff directly through us. We have an online partner portal where you can buy it anytime, 24/7. Just conduct business how it serves you. And as an independent retailer, as like my family growing up, I knew how valuable that was. And then, like I said, the innovation for set technology on Elite and just some of those elements were like, wow, this is something super special here, and was going to be a fun challenge to be a part of. So I consulted for a while and then transitioned into their VP of marketing.
VP of marketing. So if you guys aren't reading between the lines here, I mean, this is, everybody say, oh, you must have a cool job. They say it to me all the time. They say it to you all the time. It's like, yes, but nobody pays you because you like to hunt. Mm-hmm. They pay you for that knowledge, and your knowledge is marketing. Your knowledge is business. And if you don't know the outdoor group, Corrine, you can help me here, but I know everybody says Elite. Yes, Elite Archery. Slick Trick Broadheads, Dual Game Calls, Scott Archery releases. My first release ever, by the way.
Mine too.
Winner's Choice Bowstrings, custom bow equipment, solid broadheads. They have, and I've seen this a lot in my career, they've built another little empire. I mean, and it's all built around like-minded brands, right? Mm-hmm. With all those, I mean, you got some really stellar brands within that group.
Yeah, and it's still very, very family oriented, family ran. I think there's a lot of people in the industry that get into, like they want to go work for the hunting industry because they have such a passion for hunting. And I tell people, like,
what's your skill? What's your training?
Yeah, but also that, like, if you like to hunt, don't think you're going to hunt all the time. Because, I mean, we have product launches, and it coincides with the fall.
Oh, by the way, that's right during the rut in October and November.
By the way, I'm, like, eyes deep and just work. And
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. It's good. And, I mean, you definitely, there's a time and a place, but there's work. Like, you're launching products and you're, you got a lot of stuff going on.
You're talking about, I think it was with your on your job about like those outdoor marketing campaigns. I know how involved that stuff is. Mm-hmm. You're planning these programs and things like that, and when stuff's going to deploy. And I know that happens, especially with product releases. Most of that stuff's involved because it's leading up to the trade season in January and February.
Yep.
Which is, that's one thing. Okay, let's get back to something fun. We talked about Matt. Give me one or two more of your mentors, people who have really helped you along the way. I talk about Charlie Alsheimer all the time because Charlie was not only a good friend of mine, he really, really helped me understand this industry and what it was to be successful. Who are some of the other people that helped you along the way?
I will say, like, a mentor, like a colleague in some capacity. Melissa Bachmann is salt of the earth, one of the best female role models for hunting. Tiffany Lukoski too, but I mean, Melissa, I really...
both of them. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one, but they both... I
love the story of how Melissa got into it, and that's like one of the stories that, a lot of people don't know, where she's not like a Susie Social, like doing it for the wrong motives. Like, she's a hardcore hunter, she's super smart, and she has incredible work ethic. And when she wanted to work in this industry, she was going to school, waitressing, on the weekends, and she went to North American Hunter, mm-hmm. and they would not, I think she interned or something, but they wouldn't give her a job. She said, I'll work for free.
Yeah. Terry Boder.
And she worked for free and hauling around a 30, 40-pound camera through the mountains, filming Mark Kaiser and all these people. And she just put her, and she was busting her butt, like working, a real job to make money and rent money. But she had to prove herself, and she did it for free.
Yeah.
And now she's got
And
the
now
career,
look at her.
but she's worked so hard for that. And I just really like think nobody
And
understands that.
Tiffany did too. I mean, all those people that we mentioned.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of going to be all over the place for you with you here. A couple more questions I wanted to ask you. That one's too vague. I'm going to ask it anyways. What do you think is the future of archery and bow hunting in the United States, North America?
What I hope it is, or what it is,
Well,
right?
well, let's go both ways. Let's go both
That's
angles.
really a deep question, high level. What I think we're on a spike right now, which I love to see. I was talking to Brad Rux prior to this. Like, it's been 15 years I've been in my career in the hunting industry, and of those 15 years, there's a handful of good years. Otherwise, they have not been super profitable and successful. Honestly, I mean, I started in 2007, and then we had like the housing crash in 2008, and like things weren't great. So when you look at spending $1,000 on a bow, just a bow alone, there's not a lot of disposable money to run around. Yep. And so I worked a lot of years when times weren't great. And so to have this recent uptick with kind of COVID encouraging people to get outside and, fishing license alone, just, things are up. It's really great to see. Our industry is very, very much dictated by who's running the country. Quite frankly, gun sales are up when this president's in, and vice versa. So that has a big effect on the archery industry, the hunting industry, I feel like. And I mean, I'm hopeful that it's going to continue. It's obviously part of my history, or how I grew up, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Even throughout my hunting career and my career, my motives for hunting have changed throughout that time. Now that I'm a mom and I have 2 toddlers.
Very, very cute toddlers.
They're precious.
May and Eve?
Yep. Evelyn and Mabry, yeah. May's going to be 5. I mean, they're exhausting, So like I just get me out of the house and let me go sit in a tree stand. So, I hope that people find that sanctuary, right? And especially when you're just society, like there's so much to do, and the phone has changed that. We're always on. We always are at people's beck and call with that cell phone, right? And so hunting allows, hopefully, people to find just that retreat and that sanctuary and that opportunity to unplug. And I think as you see more mental health issues, like I hope that is also an opportunity for people to fill that void and, get that time that they can kind of be out in the great outdoors and chilling by themselves.
So one more, this is a story I should have asked you when we were telling stories. It's kind of a serious one. I don't know if you're going to talk about when you fell out of your tree stand.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it. We've talked about it forever. Tree stand safety, tree stand safety, tree stand safety. You were pregnant, right?
Yeah. I was 7 months pregnant.
7 months pregnant, bow hunting, and fell out of a tree.
Yeah, the last strap broke on the tree, and I was kind of stubborn. Like, I wanted to go to the specific spot, and nobody had really been in it yet that year. And I had a lifeline in my bag. Hunter safety system back in the day did really great statistics on how many of the accidents actually happen when you're climbing in and out of your stand.
1 out of 3. Yep.
Which is a lot. So lifelines, I'm a big proponent of lifelines. And honestly, almost 100% of the time, I'm always on a lifeline. We're very, very safe. But that morning, a lifeline wasn't in there. Nobody had done that, been in that stand. And so I had it in my bag, and it was connected at the base, but you have to take it obviously up and put it on the top and then sink on, right? Or hook on. And so I was climbing up, and my last strap broke, and it fell about 20 feet. It was rough. God, dang. And I was pregnant, and gosh, it was rough. Like, you get the wind knocked out of you so bad, like where you can't breathe, you're just like, you can't scream, you can't do anything. And
you're pregnant, 7 months pregnant.
Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't walk, I couldn't move my legs, so we got myself out of the woods.
Was somebody with you?
Nobody was with me, but up in a stand not too far. So we got out of the woods, and I mean, I have no baby movement at this time. Like the whole time, the baby is not moving, and I am just like, I instantly thought, there's no way the baby could survive that. Quite frankly, like right away, I just like, there's no way. I'm broken, and I'm totally not pregnant anymore. I really truly thought that. And so the whole way to the hospital, which was about 45 minutes, I didn't have any baby movement. And I mean, just the amount of guilt that you have as a mother, like just, like how stupid of myself, and such, guilt and shame. And I mean, I didn't talk about this with people for a couple years, to be honest, because I felt so guilty. And obviously I have Evelyn here today, and she's happy and healthy, and it didn't end up that way. And I wasn't broken. I got to the hospital, and I mean, I was pretty beat up. I mean, I had bruises that lasted for about 6 months on my body. My nose jammer can was dented from my release, and that gosh. Can like had a permanent imprint in my leg for about 4 or 5 months, like I said, and I still have that can. But we got to the hospital, and I wasn't broken, and the baby was alive, and I was just like, praise Jesus. I was so thankful. But the doctor said kind of your pelvis, actually, how I felt. I do remember when I fell, don't try to do anything, just fall, and so I fell right on my side, and they said probably like the pelvis when you're pregnant, it has a little like flexibility to it because to protect the baby. Mm-hmm. And there's so many fluids, and like that probably helped me from not breaking my pelvis, because that's probably between the back and the pelvis is like number 1 and 2 things you break is for tree stand falls.
And you're no worse for the wear now?
I had no breaks. The baby did come, Evelyn came early because I probably had a small tear that they didn't find, they said. So she came about, 5 weeks early, but still.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. Yeah. I know it's probably difficult to relive, but I think that if it helps one person, because we talk about it all the time. We're in the industry, we've been in the industry forever, and it can happen to anybody. And
you kind of think like, I don't know if I naively am alone. Like you think you could do something. It's just like a millisecond and you're on the ground. And I was so big, so pregnant, like I couldn't do anything really. I was going down one way or another. Like even I couldn't even like as the strap broke, I couldn't, like the weight was, we were going.
Wow. So. Thank you for sharing that story, Corrine. Okay. 2022, we're coming up.
Yeah. And
this is what I want to end with, what's brand new. What's coming? I know Elite, I believe, has 3 new bows.
Yeah, this year we do. Mm-hmm.
And the Envision. Mm-hmm. Walk us through that one really quick, because I know that people want to hear about it. Definitely. But then we're gonna end with where people can find out more about this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and like for me, my head in marketing, we're already into 23. Like so.
Well, if you can give us
no,
any
I can't
insights,
give you anything on that. But we are so much like we are planning, and I'm. My head's already in 23, I feel like. But for 2022, we have the Envision, which is taking and borrowing a little bit from the tournament archery, right? Like our jobs at Elite Archery and a lot of our brands is, I like to say, we're architects of accuracy. Like we're just trying to truly innovate and make bows that make the archer just as accurate as humanly possible and as most confident as they possibly can. So we borrowed from, and a lot of times we look to our professional archers and to the tournament side to borrow just some of the thought process there. So longer riser on that, about 90% of the bow is all risers, which it really truly comes from like a lot of your stability at full draw. So wider limbs, which also create just a really crazy stable platform for the archer while at full draw. Nearly a 7-inch brace height, which nice. I love a brace height. Yep. I'm all about forgiveness and just trying to, like I said.
You put one of those little 6-inch brace heights in my hand. I was like, I'm staying within 25 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like the best of all worlds. Like it's a shorter bow, so it's compact.
What is the length on it?
It's 31 inches axle to axle.
Nice.
So you can maneuver, and it's great for tree stands or if you're out west or doing some stock and spot or in a ground blind with turkeys. So it's great, but it doesn't feel like a 31-inch bow at all because of the long riser. It's 90% of the bow's the riser. So super stable, nearly a 7-inch brace height, so you're crazy forgiving. It's still kicking them out nearly 334, I think,
Holy
feet
cow.
per second.
Wow.
But what is cool about Elite, I believe, is just shootability, right? Like, it's not just one thing. It's not like speed, forgiveness, stable. It's like the whole cumulative experience when you're shooting a bow. It's a fun bow to shoot, and really within the cam, you can craft and create any shooting experience you want. We have 70 to 90% let off that you can dictate
90%.
how much. Yeah, dictate
Wow.
how much holding weight you're at full draw. How old am I? So I was hunting at legal limit in Wisconsin was 12. So this will be my 25th year bow hunting. Right? No, 26 coming up. Anyways, 25, 26 years of bow hunting. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually the true like draw length of 26 and 1/4 inches. Like I've wavered between, 26 to 26 and a half my whole life. But I mean, 1/4 inch draw length adjustment, I feel like that's super underestimated how like impactful that is and how cool that is that we have that in our cam. We have just so many opportunities with that bow to really create the shooting experience that you want within one bow. So
somebody can go shoot one of those at an Elite dealer,
yes,
or they can find out more information where?
on our website, elitearchery.com.
Elitearchery.com.
And one thing I don't know if set technology, simplified exact tuning, it just is so important if your arrow is not flying straight. How, like, a lot of people they underestimate how important that is and how much it can affect your accuracy. So simplified exact tuning allows the user without a bow press, with literally just an Allen wrench, to be able to dictate the flight of their arrow. And it took a painful process back in the day growing up in a pro shop. I mean, you could really
That's like
suck up a lot of time trying to tune your bow.
That's like math. I mean, I've seen guys do it. Brad can do it. It's never worn off on me, but I know
so
exactly
easy.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, my dad was a carpenter. Mm-hmm. I can't hang a door. I mean, because it was like something that if you did all the time,
Yep.
like a guy's working in a pro shop, he does it all the time. He knows how to do it. He knows how to adjust these things.
Right.
And now you've kind of built that into this bow.
We did.
Where the average guy is like, okay, well, you can actually do it yourself.
Yeah, and actually now that you like when you asked me about where the future of the hunting, I don't necessarily could tell you that answer, but where the future of archery is as far as I'm concerned and Elite is, it's really empowering that consumer to take that into their hands and dictate and creating. Now with the World Wide Web, we're trying to create these tools that they can go and do this themselves. And simplified exact tuning is that. So if your arrow's not flying, if it's coming out of your bow and it's cocking, or it's not flying from A to B, that's going to affect it, especially when you stretch that arrow out to 20, 30, 40 yards, or if you have wind involved, it's going to only magnify it. So it's very, very important that you're getting a proper arrow flight.
That's actually an awesome topic we'd have to revisit someday, because I agree with you there.
So important.
It's very important, and that is where the future is, because you see that in everything in our lives. Because I still tell people, go to a pro shop. I always promote a pro shop, not just because shop local, but like I said, if I'm only doing this, but now there's other things in our life that are like that.
Yeah.
I can sharpen my own chainsaw now. I'm without taking my chain off my chainsaw. And it used to be, no, I got to go take it to this guy down the street and wait 2 weeks. And it's like, I think that's where things are going.
Yeah.
And we see that in archery now. Okay, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off. Thank you for joining us, Corrine. EliteArchery.com. That's where you're going to find more information on those new bows. But as I said, always check them out at a pro shop, no matter what you're buying. If it's a bow, or if it's a sight, or if it's a winner's choice bowstring, anything that you go to a dealer, even if you're just going to talk to them. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, download, whatever you're doing with this podcast, share it, please. It's free. And you get great information from somebody with 25 years of experience. For Corrine Bundy, I am Dan Schmidt. Thank you for joining us for Deer Talk Now. We will see you and hear you next time.